It began with 5 strangers, each receiving a cryptic letter. The road to fortune awaits those brave enough to walk it. Along with the letter came an ironclad contract and a promise of untold riches. None of them knew who sent the invitation, but desperation makes for easy decisions. A widow drowning in debt, a fading thrill-seeker craving purpose, a cold-hearted strategist seeking control, a young idealist chasing dreams, and a jaded skeptic tired of life's games, all answered the call. They met at dawn at the trailhead, a simple dirt path flanked by ancient trees. The air was unnaturally still. The widow clutched the contract tightly, whispering prayers under her breath. The thrill-seeker grinned, eager for the adventure. The strategist, arms crossed, studied the others like pawns on a chessboard. The idealist marveled at the beauty of the woods, while the skeptic lit a cigarette, smirking at the absurdity of it all. "Skeptic, let's get this over with," the skeptic muttered, leading the way. Hours passed in strained silence as they walked. The path was unremarkable, a winding trail with no end in sight. The thrill-seeker tried to lighten the mood with stories of past adventures, but the widow's haunted eyes and the strategist's clipped responses silenced him. The skeptic rolled their eyes, muttering about scams and wasted time. Only the idealist seemed untouched, marveling at the scenery, convinced this was the start of something extraordinary. Then it began. A bird call repeated too perfectly, as if mimicked by someone unseen. Shadows darted in the corners of their vision just beyond recognition. The widow paused, clutching her pendant. "Widow, did anyone hear that?" "Thrill-seeker, just the wind." The thrill-seeker laughed nervously, but the strategist's sharp gaze swept the woods, calculating unseen threats. By midday, the path betrayed them. Landmarks they swore they hadn't passed before began reappearing. A gnarled tree with a hollow trunk, a rusted canteen abandoned on the ground. Skeptic, "We're going in circles," idealist. "No, it's just similar looking. Paths in nature do that." A strategist, "No, it's deliberate." The strategist stepped forward, voice cold, gesturing to faint markings on the trees. Symbols carved so subtly they seemed part of the bark. Strategist, "Someone or something is leading us." Thrill-seeker, "Good. That means we're on the right track, right? We keep going." The thrill-seeker laughed, though it sounded hollow. The first signs of the road's true nature emerged as dusk fell. Whispers drifted through the trees, voices calling their names. Each saw something different. The widow froze, staring at a figure in the distance, her late husband beckoning her forward. The thrill-seeker swore he saw an old rival laughing at him from the treetops. The skeptic cursed, hearing their own voice echo back at them, taunting. The idealist tried to calm the group, urging them to focus on moving forward, but their words faltered as they glimpsed a familiar face from their childhood, a teacher who'd inspired them but had mysteriously disappeared. Strategist, "It's not real, keep walking." The strategist alone seemed unaffected, eyes fixed on the trail. The group's unity unraveled with every step. The widow begged to turn back, but the thrill-seeker pushed ahead, desperate to reach the prize. The skeptic accused the strategist of knowing more than they let on, citing the strange symbols they seemed to understand. The idealist tried to mediate, their optimism faltering as fear crept in. By the time they reached an abandoned campsite, a chilling sign of those who had come before, the fractures had widened into gaping chasms. The strategist found a journal at the site, filled with desperate scrawls. "The road feeds on us. It knows what we fear, what we desire. It has no end." That night, the widow broke. While the others argued over the journal, she slipped away, following the phantom of her husband into the woods. Her scream pierced the night, cutting their argument short. They searched, finding only her pendant hanging from a tree branch. Her name was scratched off the contract, leaving an eerie blank space. "Strategist, she's gone. Keep moving," the strategist said flatly. The group pressed on, their numbers dwindling and suspicions growing. When they finally reached the end of the path, it wasn't treasure that awaited them, but a massive iron gate adorned with ancient runes. A voice, cold and mechanical, spoke from nowhere. "Voice, one may pass, the others remain." Chaos erupted. The thrill-seeker lunged for the gate, only to be pulled back by the strategist. The skeptic demanded they all leave together, while the idealist pleaded for calm. In the ensuing struggle, the thrill-seeker turned on the others, desperate to claim the reward. The strategist, calculating as ever, took advantage of the chaos, disabling the thrill-seeker and leaving them unconscious. The remaining three stood before the gate, the voice repeating its ultimatum. The skeptic stepped forward, but the strategist blocked them, insisting the idealist was the only one innocent enough to pass. The idealist hesitated, unsure if the reward was worth the cost. The gate opened, and the idealist stepped through, leaving the others behind. As they crossed, they felt a cold wave wash over them and realized too late that the reward was not wealth, but a lifetime trapped in the endless void of the path. Just another soul to feed its hunger. The gate slammed shut. The skeptic and the strategist were left behind, staring at the empty path, realizing they were now part of the road's cruel cycle. The thrill-seeker lay unconscious, and the widow's fate was sealed. The path claimed its victims, as it always had, feeding on their fears, greed, and hope. The dead-end contract had done its job. The road, indifferent and eternal, waited patiently for its next travelers.